My man, Robert Smith. What's going on, brother?
Grant Hubbard, what's going on, brother? How you been?
I'm good, man. It's been a couple days since we've chopped it up about some big time stuff, and we thought we should get on the air and see what you guys had up your sleeve over there in Florida. Rob Smith here, Rogue Works Home Services. So you guys are a pretty large gutter division out in the Orlando area. And getting right into it today, we want to talk a little bit about acquisition. There's so much you could talk about with this particular topic. We're just going to touch on a little bit, try to give you like 30 minutes today. So this will be a straight to the point podcast for you guys that want to have a quick listen and maybe get a snippet of what side of that you're on, right? Are you going to be the buyer or are you going to try to be the seller? Today, we're going to probably talk more about that purchaser side. So, Robert, you guys are looking at an acquisition right now and seeing if it makes sense for you. Why don't you tell us just how this came about for your situation over at Rogue Works? Like, where did you find this client? Like, what's going on with all this?
Well, I always talk to everybody, and you'd be surprised what you can find whenever you start talking to someone at the gas station.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's literally where this deal came from. I was gassing up at 7-Eleven in Oviedo, saw somebody, saw the sign on their car, started chopping it up. Long story short, going out Monday. Go check it out.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they're a gutter company currently?
Yes. I don't want to say their name on here just yet, not until after we bring them in the fold. But yes, they are. They're actually local. So if they are purchased, they'd come in.
Let's do this just for the conversation piece to make it flow. We aren't even let's not even talk directly about your acquisition. Although obviously there's a situation that's happening behind the scenes that is identical to what we're going to be talking about. But that way we can have a more broad conversation, right? Because there might be some details about this particular deal. Let's just give you an example. Could be the size. This could just be a $100,000 a year gutter business. It could be a $10 million a year gutter business, right? And so there'd be all these talking points that would vary dependent on the size of the purchase. Let's just talk about a purchase that could happen for around a $1 million a year gutter business. We're just talking gross, right? Just because I think that's a pretty decent number. It's where everybody either wants to be or has been recently, right? Those are healthy numbers for the industry. And we want to aspire that education to happen. So you guys are looking to purchase a business, and in this situation, like, what are the conversation starters right now as you brought this back to Damien? Like, what is that? What would that look like? Hey, man, this guy I met at the gas station, he's got this business. He's willing to let it go. Like, he's ready.
Actually, funny enough, it was the guy's wife. And she goes, oh, yeah, no, absolutely. He's been trying to get rid of this thing for a while. He really wants to get out of the business. We've been in it for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of got lucky there of finding somebody that wants to exit. So literally I took her card, brought it into Damien, put it on his desk. And that's kind of how we got our meet and got started.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In this situation, what would you think is like the ask is going to always be really high? I think it'd probably be foolish if you're selling your business to ask exactly what it's worth, or, feel like it's, there's a bunch of ways to find out either what your assets are worth or maybe what your business is worth. But how are you feeling about this type of situation right now? Like with this purchase possibility?
Well, if we can find a deal, I know that we've got the money to back it. That's not the point. That's not the problem there. The issue is sometimes what has extreme value, emotional value to someone doesn't necessarily translate to actual real world value.
There we go.
So, I mean, it's about how you set your business up.
Correct.
Are you completely connected? Am I buying a job or am I going to buy a business?
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the first things you have to talk about when you're acquiring anything. When you see everybody in the movies, your dad or grandpa, right? They kick the tire, right? They want to see if they hear any clanks or cracks or nicks or crooks or, it's like when you first time you at least in the north, right in Michigan, you're gonna walk upstairs. You step on the stairs kind of lightly till you see are they wonky or creaking and cracking. That's the first thing you should ask somebody, right? Is what's your emotional scenario with the business as you're trying to let it go? Some people may just say, look, I'm done with the business. We built what we got what we wanted, or we never got there and I'm just over it. Or some people are like, well, I've been running this thing for 35 years. I got it from my dad, and he's kicking the tires on his 2 old 5-inch machines that have sat outside under tarps in the weather, or 6-inch, whatever, and you can tell he's going, man, this thing's worth $1 million. We've sure done a lot of customers, and you're like, yeah, all those customers are done, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's about how you structure things. I mean, this will be the 4th company this year that we've looked at.
Okay.
And it's really important you have all of your books in order. Everything is nice and clean. The biggest mistake that I've seen so far this year is people don't separate the personal and the business. Those things have to be separated. If your personal finances are mixed into your business finances, good luck selling. Like, it's just, the banks are going to look at it. It's too muddy. Can't tell what's going on. They don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, right? So, okay, the first lesson of buying a business or selling, and I'm just going to kind of keep this moving, Robert. I'm not speaking for you. I'm not speaking for you. I'm just keeping it rolling. This is one of the first, right? We could just call it number 1 for this podcast, right? Is looking at the books, saying, hey, can we dissect fairly simply? Has this company been profitable or is it not? And you're right. When you go buy a new sofa, you're not using the company card when it's for your house. And you're not like constantly using your personal card for many things over years and then not refunding yourself or trying to explain that. I've seen that, and someone trying to purchase something was like, well, yeah, I really want to sell this company, but it owes me a lot of money because I just have bought, you know what I mean? I was like, what?
Yeah, that
you
actually
want to pull out a bunch of equity is what you're saying? A cash equity?
Yeah. Let me claw back some of that top line right there really quick. It's like, well, wait, now none of these numbers make sense at all. Like, what?
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
know?
yeah, number 1, if you're thinking you're going to want to sell in a year or 2, and listen, remember, selling your business is not a bad thing unless you do it on your knees and with a lot of tears, right? Because it has to go. A lot of businesses, that's how fortunes are made. Remember, build something, keep thinking about the future, put a marker on it and say, I want to reevaluate this thing in 5 years. I want to reevaluate this thing in 10 years, and budget accordingly. So that comes back to looking at the numbers. What else would you say? In the situation that you're going to look at this business, right? Like, what, and these other businesses you're looking at, what are some other things that are like,
so one really
like top of head,
top of the head, the biggest pitfall that we had here at Rogueworks when we purchased Gutter Masters was the book of business that was already there. Rightfully, Damien didn't know exactly what he was looking at whenever he purchased Gutter Masters. So it looked like the business came front loaded with almost $100,000 worth of work. That was awesome. But because he didn't know what he didn't know at the time, every single one of those jobs were losers. And so you got to know that if the business comes front loaded with work, is it profitable work? Are you going to lose your ass right after you buy the business because they set it up to lose? They just wanted to front load and make it look good. The other thing would be maintenance on your machines and your equipment.
Definitely. Oh, I want to touch on that second topic right there that you were just speaking of, right? Tell a little bit more, maybe at like, what would be the ideal situation that you would see? Just a simple form. We just want to give people some advice, on what the simple form is. This can get really, really tricky and hairy, but it doesn't have to be.
So it's really imperative that if you're buying a company, that they either keep meticulous physical records, or they have some sort of CRM that shows the history of their profitability on their jobs, and also what those jobs are currently bid at. If you're in this business, you know what your material cost is, you know what labor cost is. So you have to be able to kind of break that down.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, there's a thing called due diligence. So even if you start to dance with a partner, doesn't mean you got to keep dancing whenever you find out that it's dirty.
There you go. All right. That's what I wanted to speak about. I love that you went right there. This is why I like talking with you. Okay. So, that's why I like having these great conversations, because guys will listen to us right now. I won't say names. I know we get a lot of listens. Listen, our safety podcast that we pushed out, part 1 got 3.5 thousand.
Jesus.
Come on, man. Yes, sir. Yes,
for a
sir.
little old gutter podcast, 3,500 views, dude. That's huge.
Come on. Okay. And the next one, part 2, just me and Kevin, which I love, got 1.6. And then me and Sarah came back out. The point is people are watching and listening to this podcast. So we want to give them the gold, right? And I love that I was able to have the right people on, because 3.5 thousand people aren't going to just listen to little old me, right? So to your point on making sure the due diligence, right? I love that you said the CRM, because I think, and it's combined right there with 1 and 2, like you said, where the job's actually profitable. This is what you need to delve into if the book of business is even important to you. Let's be quite frank. 15, 20 years ago, Yellow Pages, all that, Robert, if you had $800,000 to $1.5 million book of business every year, that's important. I remember we used to buy people's phone numbers and their Yellow Page ad, and you'd want their okay, that was then. And this is now. And now, book of business, schmuck of business, reoccurring revenue. That's a completely separate conversation, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that is important too.
Well, listen, if we're talking $3 million, $2.5 million, 11 years straight, okay, there's a book of business, right?
Yeah.
There's some confidence there. But if we're just talking, you just got it together after 10 years at 290,000, and now you've hit 700 or $1 million 1 or 2 years in a row, don't come talking book of business. That's all I'm saying. Unless you got 400,000 or 800,000 or 2 million of reoccurring, I mean, and that's why certain companies are out buying companies, right? Ned Stevens, they'll go out and buy companies. If you call it buying companies, I mean, it's pennies on the value, but hey, it's a capitalist country.
Hey, look, man, get it how you live.
Whatever. Okay. So what would you say is number 3, right? What would you say is number 3? And again, what we were just talking about, folks, was have your jobs in a CRM, so you could run back and run some do like an operation on the job, right? Like if you went into your CRM, we'll speak about that, and I was buying that business, RogueWorks, I would know by looking at his CRM whether they were making money or not off the jobs. Yep. Now, whether the money was still around by the time it makes to Damien is a different story. Again, that's a separate conversation based off of labor, but I would know if the jobs were being sold at an accurate percentage, fitting into the Tetris puzzle of business. Okay.
Absolutely. Last thing you want to do is buy a company that sells at $4 a foot and, makes beer money at the end of the day.
Well, let's just say this too. I mean, just a wild telling tale would be you buy a business as well, and material costs are at 39 or 41%, and maybe they're selling at $8 a foot, but the reason those material costs are so high is because all of the employees are stealing, and you're about to purchase all these guys. So listen, there's a little bit there in due diligence, as we both know that, right? And so I just wanted to expound on it for the listeners, give them a couple of different points of interest. I think we could have a whole 1-hour podcast about due diligence.
Oh, right. Easy. I'd say, the third biggest thing is going to be the people. What is the culture like at the company? What are the people like? Are they going to be people that you want to have on your company, on with your company? There's, I'll be honest, there were some bad actors whenever we took over here that luckily we weeded them out very quickly. But had they stayed on, had we not taken care of that problem, we could have been dead in the water in 6 months, because some people will take the ship down just because they don't like the captain.
100%. 100%.
And then, I'd say fourth thing is maintenance. Are you going to buy an albatross to where every couple of months your transmission goes down and, you got to spend $10,000 to replace the transmission on a box truck and, another $3,000 getting a 7-inch machine back up and running because it's, 28 years old.
Yeah.
And those are personal experience things that I have gone through in the past 2 years. And they suck. So you got to watch out for how other people treat their tools, their stuff. And then you touched on material cost and things of that nature. If you're going in to go buy a business, you should already know 3 to 5 different ways in which you can optimize any gutter company.
Yeah.
That you really have, these 3 areas dialed in. Material cost. Hey, I already know that I've got a great relationship with a supplier. Their material cost is currently at 40%. I know I can get that down to 19.5%.
Correct. Yeah. And that's obviously, those things are changeable, right? People buy businesses and they come in and they clean house and they use, their people, et cetera. So there's a bunch of different ways we can dissect that particular part. I just wanted to let people know that when they're purchasing some people, and I'm glad that you segued right to them. Were they getting some foundation? Is there an organizational chart? Like, is it a company that's already kind of running smoothly? Because I want to look at the retention. That would be really important to me too. If because people do have emotional asks. Once you are selling a business with a great culture, like these are the businesses you actually don't usually sell. The ones that have all the things that we're looking for, no one sells those businesses because they're profitable year after year after year because everything's dialed in.
Yeah.
Everything's dialed in. Now, if you got your business dialed in for 15, 20, 22 years, none of your kids want to buy it. The market's hot and, you got a buddy who's an investor and now he wants to take a ride. Those are sweet deals too.
Yeah.
But you're going to usually get your money. You're going to ask a lot for that business. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. And unless you really need to go get out of it, like, why would you actually even sell it?
Yeah. Well,
especially when we're talking gutter business. These things should be running themselves very easily all over the nation. And they're not. Some of them are, but a lot. I'm still kind of baffled at why there's so many owner operators in the seamless gutter business industry. And I'm not saying this at all. Like, I have a lot of friends that are owner operators. There's a lot of guys in our group that are owner operators. The guys in our group, I'll use Tyler, for example, but I could just use a bunch of people. Bubba's, I could just go down the line. Eric, all these people that were owner operators on the truck. And because they're ready and they vocalize they're ready, they're taking a path into building something where they don't have to be on the truck at work. They still got a lot of work to do.
You got to want it.
Yeah.
You can't just dream it. You got to go out and learn what it takes to get there. You didn't become a master installer overnight. Nope. You didn't buy all your machines and set your company up overnight. There's no reason for you to think that you're going to be able to just start your company, hop off the truck, and live the good life. I wish it worked that way, but it just doesn't. And strangely enough, a lot of guys that start their company really just started because they didn't want a boss anymore. They didn't want to be told what to do, where to go, when to be there. And they forgot all the behind the scenes things that go on that they didn't know about or they didn't want to deal with.
Right, for sure. What do you think that the market value looks like in your area? Obviously, you're looking at a business right now that's in the same area. So let's just act like, and we're selling a gutter business in Orlando, Florida, and it's doing $2 million a year gross. It's done $2 million a year gross for 10 years. What do you think is the first thing you should do as someone looking at the business, right? That maybe isn't very familiar with purchasing business for the first time. They're going, hey, I'm looking at buying another gutter business 100 miles away, 50 miles away, outside of my actual territory. And those are some numbers right there. 2 million a year, 10 years. What is something, you know, I'll give you an example of something. The first thing I'm going to look at is what's the population in that new territory.
Population.
I want to look at that per capita income, right? Household income. You know, I'm going to start down that path to understand if if I'm speaking about me, if my heavy marketing presence is going to be too much for this little small town or this rural area or this big city. Is it already saturated? You know, I'm going to go down that path. How much money do people make? And can I go there and saturate and just obviously just inundate a city with my marketing and my advertising to get out in front of people?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important.
Is there anything you would add to that, do you think? Or
you definitely want to know, you know, the population, what the growth plans are like. You want to be able to drive around the area and see, you know, are they building any apartment complexes or new housing complexes going up?
Exactly.
Things like that. Now, here in Florida, we're kind of lucky. We have, I think it's like 5,000 people a week on average move here. So we're always growing, but not all markets are like that. So not only that, you want to make sure that your style of advertising, your style of company even works where you're at, because you could take someone like our business and you put us in the Midwest and we're going to look like a bunch of crazy Florida freaks. You know, oh, I don't want to do business with that guy. He's all flash and dash or, you know, whatever. So you really got to know your market. And then beyond that, I mean, you're going to have to find somebody that you trust, because if you have another location 50 miles away, look, as good as some of us are, we can't be in two places at once.
No, it's really hard. Well, what will happen is the brand will die a little bit, right? When we were talking about taking over that Fort Worth area, we were here in Austin, and I think we were really gung-ho about it. The price wasn't really going to be right, and it was the same time like, okay, crap, is Grant going to run both of these, and who do we train? And that's got to be a big commitment. Now, mind you, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that's what I was doing for businesses, running multiple locations.
Yeah. Hey, no problem.
You know?
I'll work here 8 hours and then I'll drive up there. I'll sleep in the warehouse and I'll work there tomorrow. And I'll come back tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. Or you get a hotel, you get a little apartment or something. I mean, you know, that's all easy stuff too. But if that's the lifestyle you want. The thing is too, with that, is you need to have that in your budget if you're pulling a guy, right? So in your acquisition cost, maybe for that first year until you build up someone locally to start to be your now general manager or whatever, you know, say it was not just gutters, you know, you might have some type of regional manager because you have 2 or 3 little locations around, you know, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia or something, whatever, near that area. But at first it's just you as the owner. Yeah. So you need to think about that upfront cost of, you know, an additional living area, whether that's lots of hotels or flights, or if you're going to throw out your general manager, you're really gung-ho general manager, director of operations, you know, regional or district manager, to go out and start doing all that traveling and take a full load of a whole nother employee. And you actually want him to still be working for you in 18 months to 3 years. You know, I'm not saying you have to double his salary, but he's going to be doing double the work and never home. So if you're going to pay properly on that, you know, at least give a 50% pay increase with tons of bonus opportunities, right? So that he or she just drives themselves to be self-managed really, really well, right? And still be innovative and fix and create all new solutions or issues. Create all kinds of solutions for issues that are going to happen, especially maybe if you're in a different region, a city that you're already comfortable with, where you know the big box stores are, you know where they're at, you got, you know, friends and high and low places, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah. Right. And, you know, to touch on your what you said earlier about location, you know, one of the biggest things that we look for are how close are they to a hub, right? And by hub, I mean major intersection. So we're pretty strategically based here in Orlando.
Yes, sir.
We're 5 minutes away from I-4-408. So in 5 minutes, I can get on the highway that's going to take me north, south, east, or west on all sides of Orlando. Wherever you move, you need to make sure you move near a good hub as well as your supplier. How far is your supplier away? You're going to have to go drive 3 hours to go to Spectra in order to get material. or are you going to move like I did 17 minutes away?
Yeah.
So, and that's
location. Yep.
We're getting ready to move after the first of the year into a bigger facility. And those were literally the two requirements that Damien told our real estate agents. Look, we're looking for near this hub and near these suppliers. Find me what you got.
Yeah. I'm taking some notes here. So number one, we were talking to you guys about having your books in order, nice and clean. You can run through them, right? Then next thing, we can take a check to make sure you are, if the book of business is even a part of the conversation, were you actually selling at profit? Were you profitable, right? And at what levels? What was your, knowing all your numbers, so we can look at your books, and that can all be a very simple conversation, right? And then we're going to take a look at your culture and your people. If we're buying people that are sticking around, right? If you're like, hey, this thing runs itself, I am the owner, but I'm really hands off. You can take right over this thing. You don't have to, rehire all new people or whatever. Do with it as you may. So we're looking at that culture, number 3. And then number 4, we were just talking about that location, right? So I'm glad you brought that up. These are literally just right in line with a couple of the key points of an acquisition, right? Of a seamless gutter business.
Absolutely.
Location, getting in and out, and there's a lot of time lost, especially if you look over a whole period of a year. If you break it down to the quarter, that's how we always looked at it, right? Is that per hour revenue per employee price.
Yeah.
It's really important to look at it that way. So if they got to spend 15 minutes just getting to the local gas station and freeway where they're going to stop and get stuff to drink and eat and do all that, whatever, and then it's still another 25, 30, 45 minutes to any of your outskirts, that's really important if you're going to stay in the same location, which I think takes us to number 5, right? Is there any property or building being sold with the business, right? Yeah. Because that's again, a separate conversation, right? About what the value is. Thank God we have like actual facts on what the value is based off of appraisals, and the locations and property and all of that stuff. What do you think? Are you guys going to acquire anything in this particular deal to speak of your actual deal? Is there any offers on that, or is it mom and pop?
It is a mom and pop. And don't get me wrong. They've been around for a while. I actually know both the owners. As it turns out, after I started talking to the lady there, I actually used to work with her at A Screen, which is owned by Rogueworks 20 years ago.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that we're going to pick some stuff up here. That kind of remains to be seen. Yeah. Really, like I said, it's going to depend on price. It's also going to depend on whether or not the net profits from that business are going to be able to service the debts.
Yeah.
I'd say that's
that's where I was hoping you wanted to go, was 6. Say it again louder.
So number 6, make sure that your net profits can service your debts. So it's one thing to buy a company that's going to be a full-time job for you. But if you can't make a paycheck, your people can't make a paycheck and still have money left over to pay the bank back, it's all for naught, because you're still going to lose everything. So make sure that net profit covers your salary and the debt servicing.
Yeah. Here's why, right? Because just because you've been in business for 20 or 25 years doesn't mean while you're in the middle of telling someone, hey, I will sell you my business, here's what I want, or someone approaching you and asking, hey, notice you got a nice business there. Would you ever sell it? I have money. I want to buy it. And then you going, I have debt. That's a really real scenario. That's not a bad scenario. I have whatever. I have five big trucks that I'm making payments on that,
Oh, that's huge.
Obviously, I'm not going to pay those all off right now just to sell the business, right? That's not how business sale works. You could take over some debt, blah, 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 right? So again, I made some markers here. I think we just got ourselves 6 more podcasts on breaking down the series, right? Well, hey,
good.
We don't have to hide behind it. I want to wrap up with you here shortly, but obviously you're going to be coming into the gutter growth coaching scene. I'm really excited for that. You already have been inserting yourself there. You've actually been in our program as a student, and I hope that's went well for you, as I'm sure it has. But
it's been huge. I mean, that's the reason why my title changed down there.
Let's go. You know me. It's real excitement, brother. Number 6, making sure. So expound on that a little bit. Give the people a scenario of what could be like a bad scenario. Obviously, it's really easy to know, but let's just say somebody's thinking right now about this, and they might hear something you say, and they're like, "Oh crap, that makes sense."
So I mean,
bad debt.
It's I'm not going to use
the net profit
money.
Can service your bills. Remember,
absolutely.
I just wanted to,
No, absolutely. So it's one thing for you to be able to go out and your money's really long. You can go buy a business outright. It's another thing. Well, back up there. So the other thing is that most of us are going to buy with debt. Okay. And why use your money? Spend all the money you've got whenever you can use the bank's money. Now, the thing is that the bank isn't going to loan you money unless there's profit in it for them, but it's kind of like getting a mortgage. The mortgage broker is going to tell you, "Oh, hey, it's awesome. You qualified for $2,000 a month." You go, "Well, shoot, I can't pay $2,000 a month." So you have to be mindful of your own expenses and what you have going on, and then realize that after you purchase that business, for the first 6 months, I mean, everything's got to be shoestrings. You can't go out and spend like crazy. You have to be mindful of everything you spend, because a cash crunch can mess your business up real quick, because soon you can't pay your guys, can't pay your suppliers, you can't pay, your SEO guy, you can't pay Mr. Pipeline to run your website and do all your stuff for you. And it spells the end of your business very quickly. And before you're back working for somebody else. And that's not what we started all this crap for, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, ain't that the truth?
Man.
I like those picks.
Grant, normally, brother, I would be on here for hours. I know that we've got at least, I don't know, probably 12 or 15 hours worth of podcast left in us, but duty calls.
I like the 6. Okay. So if you guys
got 6 points.
Yeah. Let's call this 6 points for beginning acquisition. Right. I like that. I appreciate your time as always. Look for more of me and Rob, just kind of breaking down some different parts of the gutter business, whether it's buying, selling, hiring, firing. I mean, you name it. We're going to get a whole bunch of these points across for you guys in different scenarios. And we always, as always, appreciate your support and your listen. Take care.
Love you all.
Peace.